All right, let's get started. Welcome to Computer Crime and Forensics. My name is Andy Reed. I'll be teaching the course. I say without reservation, this is my favorite course. This is what I did for 10 or 12 years of my career, computer forensics. I am interested in all things computers and computer forensic. This course will give us a good idea of what a computer forensic investigator does. So we're going to dive into some of the actual artifacts that they'd be looking at in computers, and talk about preparing reports and all sorts of things in the life cycle of digital forensics. We're not going to do any coding. There's no need to do Python script or C+ or anything like that in this course. There's not any complicated math or anything. I'm just answering questions that I've already had from concerned students in the past. There's not a ton of reading. There's certainly a decent amount of reading to do, and there's a lot of detail in specific artifacts and things that an examiner would be looking at. So those are the kinds of things we're going to do. I want to get us started on the right foot in that I can set expectations, answer questions, navigate through the trickier parts of those requirements for students right at the front. So we've got a pretty slack week for week one, but there's a few things that we want to accomplish, and one of the biggest things that we can do is to prepare ourselves for the next 12 weeks after this week. So let me share my screen with you, and we'll walk through the syllabus. I encourage anyone to ask questions. Fire away in the chat message if you want, or do it with audio or audio and video, your choice. This is unstructured. There's no course content that I'm covering in these office hours. It is purely administrative, so I'll talk about upcoming assignments or upcoming needs or things that you should be preparing for. And I'll also review things that have been handed in and what the wins and the losses that were experienced in those. This is the subject matter that I love to talk about, so I'm easily distracted talking about careers and things like that are available in this field. We get a wide variety of different students here. We've got about 325 students in the class. Typically, this is the biggest class that Trent offers. We've hit 350 in some years, but we offer this in this term and in the summertime. So we certainly are used to large classes. If you go to the Getting Started tab, you'll see that there are 3 workshop leaders that will be helping me out in terms of doing marking and such. So Jay, I see that you've got a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Professor. I haven't seen you in a while.
Good to see you.
I had a question about the discussion post, because watching the video that you posted, you wanted 3 citations. Do you have like a rough template of what you're looking for? So
yeah, sure. So let me do things in my own little order here. I'll work through and I'll go into great depth about discussions. That's one of the biggest areas of questions that I get, because it's unusual. It's specific to this course and 3750, my requirements for discussion. So I'll get there, and if I don't cover what you specifically want, hit me up again. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Of course. So this office hours, obviously we're on a Monday night here. It's not going to be ideal for people to attend, but I'm going to run these office hours at least for the near future on Saturdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I understand that people work, people recover from their Friday nights, whatever that people want to do on Saturdays. If you don't attend in person, that's perfectly fine, but I'd really, really recommend that you take the time to at least watch the video. I will always record the office hours. It's best if you attend, there's no question. The interaction is better if I have a bunch of people attending, but as a fallback position, please do at least watch them. I will be dealing with the known pitfalls and the known issues on a week-to-week basis. So I'm going to do them on Saturdays, and we're going to look ahead to the week upcoming. So I'll be discussing, the expectations for the following week. Saturdays at 2 is where we're going to start there. All right. And keep in mind too that there's no real good time. Trent doesn't schedule a class time. This is an asynchronous course. So I just have to pick a time that kind of works for me, and keep in mind that there's students all around the world in not maybe every, but in many different time zones that are watching this and joining or not joining, because it could be the middle of their night where they are, or it could be, just they're busy working or doing whatever. So if you don't get a chance to join live, which I would ask you to do if you can, having said that, I don't take attendance or give you marks or anything like that, but the students that are most likely to either attend or watch the office hours are the ones that tend to do best in the course. I will drop hints and I'll give specifics about exam questions and things like that throughout the office hours. So I hope to add value to it. And it is our one point of contact that we can see sort of face-to-face given COVID and such. So keep in mind though, this course for the last probably 5 or 7 years is a online course, has been an online course. It's been an asynchronous course. So this delivery is just normal. It wasn't impacted by COVID at all. The other thing to keep in mind is that the final exam is expected to be an in-person exam. No guarantees. We're obviously working around COVID, but if COVID cooperates, this will be an in-person exam. You'll have an option of Durham or Peterborough or a proctored online exam. So the school goes back and forth a little bit sometimes on whether they will offer a proctored online exam, because there's fees associated with that to do that for students that live within 200 kilometers of Durham or Peterborough. Last term, they opened it wide and said anyone that wants to do the online exam, you go ahead and do that. I'm indifferent. I just prefer proctored exams. So whether that's an online proctored exam or that's a in-person proctored exam, we had all sorts of problems with, and maybe some of you experienced this, we had all sorts of problems with the proctoring service. So they didn't show up. They didn't answer questions. They didn't do a whole bunch of things. So there are complications to that, or potential complications. In fact, I still have a couple students from last term that haven't written their exams yet because we just couldn't get it arranged in time. So Kathleen, I see that you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, kind of going back to office hours.
Yeah.
Since they will be on Saturdays, and for those who do have to work, would you just suggest having the questions put in the discussion board or emailing you?
I think emailing me is probably best, and then it'll help me be organized. I mean, either is fine. I might miss them in the discussion board. I typically only check that once a day. I do pride myself on responding to email within 24 hours. So that's something that I'm very, very serious about. It's really rare that if you send me an email, you don't hear back from me within 24 hours. In fact, if you don't, probably resend that email, because I almost never miss that. So yeah, if you've got something that you want me to ramble on at length about, just give me that topic and just, fire off an email and say, please cover this in office hours extensively.
Thank you.
I mean, the other option too, to the extent that I can, given that there are 325 students in this class and I've got almost 800 overall in 3 classes, I'm happy to set up times to have one-on-one Zooms to the extent that I can. I also work a full-time job and I teach part-time, but evenings and weekends, I can make some time and have a direct interaction if that's necessary or preferable. Okay. This is, I'll jump ahead a bit on my regular spiel from the from the syllabus because I've sort of talked about it a bit. When you send me an email, send it from your Trent, please. There's a couple of downfalls to sending me something from a Gmail. One, it gets trapped in my junk email and I don't see it, so I don't respond in a timely manner because I don't look in my junk folder every day. So that's one downside. The other downside is I can't really respond because I don't know that Harley Rider 123 is Jay Smith from my 2750 class. So if for privacy reasons, I'm not going to respond to those sorts of questions. So use your Trent emails, what I'm trying to say. And when you do so, please put the subject in the subject line, meaning say that it's for computer crime or 2750, however you want to say it, so that I don't have to ask you what subject you're talking about of the 3 subjects that I teach. Okay. So I am going to share with you my syllabus screen with a little luck. You guys can see that, I hope. I'll just get some. Yeah, okay, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so just walking through, and you guys are in many cases veteran students at this point, but it is a really, really good idea to take a run through the syllabus to understand any new course and understand what the expectations are. The syllabus is the default go-to frame of reference, meaning that I can't change things that are in the syllabus without whole class consent. So if it's not in the syllabus, it doesn't really exist for the course. The learning outcomes and the description, I'll let you guys go through. The textbook is available either as a printed book or as an ebook. I strongly, strongly recommend that you go with the ebook. And I say that because it's just easier when you're doing quizzes. They're open book quizzes. It's a whole lot easier to do keyword search and find out specific information than it is to go through a paper book. If you prefer a paper book, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The text is considered to be mandatory. What I mean by that is that all the questions come straight out of the text. I can't force you to buy the textbook, nor would I. I don't make any money on the textbook. It's not my textbook. But if you want to do the best you can and get the highest mark you can in this course, you want to purchase the textbook. All right. Just going through some sort of general descriptions as to what's going on. So we've got let's go down to the breakout here. So we've got mandatory submissions that are worth 0%. So don't be fooled by the 0% mark. If you don't do the mandatory submissions, you won't be able to do the quizzes, which are worth 15%. So week 1 is all about the mandatory submissions. So we need to successfully complete the academic integrity module. That's not available yet for everyone, and that's just due to IT, Trent IT being backed up. The request was put in late. So unfortunately, they're still getting caught up and getting everyone enrolled. If you already did it in the first term, you'll have access to it. You don't have to do it more than once in a term. In fact, you can't do it more than once in a term. A screenshot from September or October is fine. Just upload that and I'll verify that you've successfully completed the academic integrity module. If it's just not available for you under courses, then just be patient for the next couple of days. They have said to me that they expect that by Wednesday or Thursday morning at the latest, that they will be available to all students. If not, let me know and we'll make arrangements and try and get everyone to have the academic integrity module. Sometimes we have to add, if you're a late addition to the course, we have to manually add you, but the whole group of students should be added sometime. It might be overnight tonight, might be overnight tomorrow night, whichever. Soon everyone will have it. But if we get to Thursday and you don't have it, let me know, please. And I'll make an announcement about what we're going to do. So that's the first part of grading. We have 5 discussions worth 20%. That's the best 4 out of 5 will count. So I've already had a question from Jay regarding the discussions. So the discussions are often a source of confusion for students. So let me spend some time here. Give me 1 second as my voice is breaking up to get a drink. So the discussions are 500 to 700 words, and you can see when the discussions become available to you, there's instructions with them, and it will tell you all of what I'm about to tell you here. So I'm looking for 500 to 700 words. You will have a 2-week period to do the discussions. The Friday at the end of the first week, your first post is due. So that post is going to be in response to the question that I ask you. So, blah, 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 please describe blah, blah. You'll respond to that. You won't be able to see anyone else's thread before you do it. So hopefully you'll come up with something unique and an interesting post, and you'll post that by the first Friday. The second Friday, you'll have to respond to a peer. So everyone will be asked to put an interesting question in at the end of their discussion post, or you can respond to the actual discussion post itself. It's probably easier in general, instead of agreeing with everything that someone says, because it's hard to build really good content while agreeing, to either extend what they've talked about or to politely and academically disagree with what they've said and provide your proof for the viewpoint that you're supporting. You want this to be in an academic, passive, third-person sort of setup. Even if I ask your opinion, if I say, what's your opinion about this and that? Ideally, you're not going to say, my opinion is, you're going to state it as a fact. What is your opinion about grass? Grass is green. And then you cite a source proving that grass is green. And then you go on to talk more about the thesis of your post is. So 500 to 700 words. The minimum requirement are 3 references. They can be any references. I'm not particularly, I'm not particularly strict about the references, but they need to be cited. So what I mean by that is you have to tell me when you use that information in the text that you're writing. You have to tell me what source you found that information from. You can't just list them at the bottom. The reason I do best 4 out of 5 for discussion posts is it often takes students a discussion post or 2 to get their bearings and to understand what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for rather. So the discussion posts tend to go up in marks if people pay attention to their feedback. We do our very best. We have 3 really good workshop leaders that I've worked with multiple times before in all cases that will grade the discussion posts. They will provide very personalized feedback saying, this is good, but this is where you need to improve. If you follow that and work with that and maybe ask questions during the office hours, then you'll quickly get it. What I really try to do with all my courses is I try to make the students better writers when they come out. I'm not looking for flowery prose. I'm not looking for fiction or anything like that, but I am looking for a well thought out, rational, reasoned argument backed by proof. So that's sort of the standard that we're trying to set here. And this will help you towards the term paper as well. So the discussion, I get a lot of satisfaction about watching the evolution of the people that put effort into the discussions and watching the writing improve, because there's generally a marked improvement on the class average and the way that things are written from the first discussion to the 5th discussion. So I think that's a lot of value to offer students, is to improve their writing, because it seems to be an area that's lacking. A lot of people have very, very rudimentary writing skills for a university level. So So that's the 5 discussions. Jay or anyone else, did that kind of answer the questions that you had in general? And we'll deal with this more because there's nothing due for discussion posts this week, but we'll deal more on Saturday about discussion posts as well, once you can see the question.
Yeah, that helped answer. Thank you. I was just wondering about the breakdown for discussion posts, because on the course syllabus, it just has like, it just names it, but it doesn't tell like the breakdown of like how much.
Yep, you'll see that when the discussion posts are posted, you'll be able to access the rubric. I always like to let students see the rubric. We can walk through that on Saturday if you remind me, or if someone reminds me, I'll walk through it and tell you exactly how I mark it.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. There are 10 quizzes. I've touched on that a little bit before. So the purpose of the quizzes is to keep the students moving forward week over week, keeping the reading moving. Otherwise, if there's not that impetus to do that reading, people get sidetracked in other courses that are demanding their attention or whatever else distracts students. So I just like to keep people moving forward so that when they get, for instance, to the midterm, it's not, you don't have to do all the reading. You've moved along. The quizzes are very good. And although I won't release the answers to the quizzes, you'll see the questions not only on the weekly, but you'll see them on the midterm and potentially on the final as well. So do pay attention to them, review them. You can take a screenshot of them. You can do whatever you want with them, but I won't confirm the answers. It's a relatively small pool, and I'm really not looking forward to having all the students just memorize answers without thinking about what the questions are and everything. So I don't release those sorts of answers, but I do encourage you to if you perform well, then you know what the answers are. And if you don't perform well, then you can go back and you can ask me questions, or you can go back and reread the sections. The quizzes are open book. There is no time limit on them. They're just due Fridays at 11:59. Midterm exam, it will be done on the Monday. I think that's the Monday right after the reading week, if I'm not mistaken. I can probably see that. Yeah, so we come back on right after the reading week and immediately go into Monday and do at 10 a.m. we're going to do the midterm. If that conflicts with another class or another exam or whatever, not your personal life, but an actual academic conflict, you just have to let me know and we'll reschedule it. I'm stuck in the situation. I don't leave them open for 24 hours or anything like that. I just, experience has taught me that there's too much cheating that way. I get someone doing the exam ahead of the group that they're with, and then what I get is groups doing the exam. So I keep it very strictly limited, but I will accommodate whatever else academically is going on in terms of other classes and other exams, other labs, those sorts of things. We don't have a designated time, so I can't expect you to not necessarily have a conflict there. So that's the midterm. Then we have the term paper that's due towards the end of March. That's worth 15%. That is, I'll be releasing those topics within a couple weeks or so. And what you'll have is something like as many as 10 or 12 topics to choose from. There'll be limited enrollment in each of the topics. So you'll be able to choose what you want, and then you'll work on that term paper. It's something you should plug away at over the entire term or over most of the term, because what I'm looking for at the end is a highly polished term paper that's very well written, reads well, isn't full of a lot of fluff, and is something that's interesting and educational to read. We'll dive way deeper into the requirements for the term paper as we get going, but my early hint to you is, as soon as you can choose a topic, please do so. it behooves you not to wait until the last 2 days before. You will be very disappointed with the mark you get if you try and do the term paper in 2 days. It just won't work out that well. Go ahead, Jay.
Actually, Lori, I think had a question before me.
I'm sorry, Laurie, I did not see your, go ahead, Laurie.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Pretty good. So just my first question, like I'm just gonna digress for a second. First, how do you like to be addressed?
Oh, Andy is fine.
Andy is fine? Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
you can call me professor, you can do Mr. Reed is fine. I'm not a doctor. At some point I will get my PhD. I do not have a PhD, so I don't like to take credit for something I'm not. So Andy is fine though.
Okay, thank you. And so for the discussion board, so the first is I would be responding to your question or statement, and second would be me responding to a peer's, and that's where it ends, right? That kind of ends there, and then we go on to the second discussion.
That's right. So I guess I could be a little more clear. I break the class into, I don't know, 10 or 12, depends on how many we end up here, about groups of 25 or 30 at most each. And then, so you'll have sort of a contained group of people. But yeah, you'll do a nice response just based on the question, post that by the first Friday, and then you'll get a chance to read through everyone else. The reason I put a deadline of that Friday is so that everyone has a chance a whole week to respond to someone else's post. Otherwise, Friday people post 2 posts and there's no interaction. So I am looking for you to learn something from your peers or to teach your peers something as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Discussion boards they're fun and I love them. Thank you.
I like them, and I keep them somewhat formal. I mean, we've got a whole list of rules for being polite to everyone and everything. Never had a problem that way. What often happens is that people don't put enough effort into an academic submission. It's an academic discussion board. I think it adds a lot of value. I love when I teach in person, not that this class has been in person in a long time, but other classes, having discussions and hearing thoughts. I can drone on and listen to myself forever, but it's much more interesting to get feedback, and it's much more engaging for the class. So I think the discussion boards are a bit hard, quite honestly. They're a challenge because it's hard to write well, but I think they have a lot of value. So go ahead, Jay.
I just had a question, 2 quick questions. One was about the quizzes, whether it's like how many attempts you get. I'm not sure about that. And then for the term paper, do you have like an example, because we have to wait a few weeks before we can see a question? Do you have an example of like a topic or something because I started reading the book, so I want to know like what to be looking for.
Okay, so
like reference and stuff.
Let me start with your first. The quiz is a one-time only, so you get 1 crack at it. There's no time limit though, so you can start it on Monday and work your way through, and submit it on Friday. I mean, that's not ideal. I wouldn't do that, but typically I would have my book open. I would go question by question, and I would make sure that I read the exact question in the book, because that's where it comes from. So you should get really good marks in the quizzes if you give yourself time to do that. If you wait until 11:50 on Friday and you have to rush it, it probably won't turn out as well as if you start on, say, Wednesday or something. What I recommend, and I'm a guy that's taken most of my education online. I took my undergrad online. I took my accounting designation online, or primarily online. I took my master's entirely online. Get into a schedule. You have to by Wednesday get this done. By Thursday you want to be here. Usually the first couple of days of the week are the reading. Get the readings done, and then start on your quizzes for Wednesday, Thursday, and your term paper, do some of that on each weekend or whatever. Just get a routine going. It goes fast, as you guys probably have figured out. 13 weeks in a term just goes really, really fast. And you've got pressures from other courses. You've got pressures that are external, whatever's going on in your life, whether you work, all those things. But if you get a routine and you kind of keep hitting those targets, you'll get through this and you'll do very well. If you let it slip, you miss a couple quizzes, then now you haven't seen the questions that are going to be on the midterm and on the final, or you haven't seen as many of them as you could have. You leave the term paper to a week out, then you're rushing to do that. You don't get as good a job done. Maybe you don't have someone that can read through it and give you edits and suggest changes and things like that. Do it in a scheduled way is my suggestion. So as far as the topics in the like the 12 or so topics that you get to choose from for the term paper, they are going to be outside the readings. So the idea is to develop some expertise outside of the core competencies in the course. So I don't really want to give those away, and you'll have lots of time to consider the 12 different topics and do some preliminary reading and some research to see where there's good sources or what interests you. That's always, maybe one's about drone forensics. It's definitely not going to be in the book. It's going to be completely outside the book, but maybe that interests you. Maybe drones are your thing. Whatever. I'm just throwing an example out there. So there will be lots of time. I won't rush you, so that you will definitely have a week at least to consider your topic. In the past, like I said, there's usually 30% of the class that is down to the last 2 weeks before the term paper is done that haven't signed up for a topic at that point. So there'll be no rush. You'll have the time. And once I release those, guess what? We get office hours. We can start talking about them. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I had a quick question about the midterm exam, because I'm going to assume you're going to have slides as well as the textbook. I don't know the crossover is between which one you should focus on more, because I know you had slides before, and in the previous course, like information systems, we had to use the textbook more.
So it's always the same for me. It's always the same. The textbook is key. My lectures are supplementary in nature. So if you only listen to my lectures, you would miss a whole lot of information. If you only read the text, you wouldn't miss any information at all. Okay. So my purpose in doing lectures is to expand on the topics, to help people understand, maybe give some personal experience or whatever. When I'm not recording lectures, when I'm in a classroom in person, I do a lot of personal experience stuff that I just don't want to record and put online. So I do talk about a lot of stuff like that, but I'm a bit constrained about what I can talk about and record and make available publicly. So, but yeah, the principal source is the book. I'm just here to help you digest that book, essentially. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Just looking through some questions here for a second. If you completed the AIM, the academic integrity module for your fall semester, do you need to do it again? Not only do you not need to do it again, but you can't do it again. So send me a screenshot, go into your courses from when you did in September, October, whenever you did it. So yeah, absolutely. Just send me that screenshot. You only have to do the AIM, and you're only allowed to do the AIM once per year. So you're good until the end of the spring term with that academic integrity module, and then you have to do it again in the fall each year, if an instructor requires it. When are the topics released? So if we're talking about the term paper topics, I've been a bit vague. In the next couple of weeks, I will get those released. I want to review them, and then I'll get them out. You'll have lots and lots of time. And in the interim, you'll have to get used to the discussion. So there'll be lots coming your way over the next week or two. As far as material each week, every Saturday morning at somewhere around 12:01 a.m. So, the middle of the night on Saturday morning, the next week's material will be released. So that'll open up in your course content. The quizzes will become available. the school week officially starts on the Monday, but I like to give students the weekend. We're all busy, so lots of people do a lot of work on the weekend. So when you wake up on Saturday morning, you'll have access to the next week's worth of work. And that way, when we have our office hours on the Saturday, you'll have had a chance to see what's going on for the next week. Okay. Looks like I think I've caught up to everything there. So there's a very specific schedule. So the final exam's 30%. As I've said sort of repeatedly at this point, it is in person or proctored online. Yeah, you'll be able to make a choice as to where you want or how you want to do that. If things go south with COVID, if it's the situation that we find ourselves in right now, it'll be an online exam only, open book. So anytime, I try not to put students in a position where if they don't cheat, they're at a disadvantage, meaning anytime that it's a quiz, it's an open book quiz. If it's an online exam, it's an open book online exam. I'm not expecting people just to self-enforce that, that they're not going to look at their book. So. Format of exam, we'll get into that a little later on as we get close. I think I've got some pretty good specifics in the outline. Maybe I'm lying to you. Typically, I just determine finals. So the midterm, as it says right in the syllabus, the midterm will be an open book online. Expected to write it on your own. That's kind of the only caveat. The midterm will cover the first 5 chapters and any other materials that we've covered, meaning discussion posts and such, and may consist of multiple choice, multiple answer, true, false, matching, and or short and long answer questions. It's 2 hours in duration. The final exam is the same, but it's 3 hours and it's in person. So a typical final exam with 180 minutes, so 3 hours, would be 100 multiple choice or multiple answer or true false. So the same things you're seeing in the quiz every week, plus probably about 8 short answer questions. So that's kind of typical. I'll vary it up and down. Sometimes I'll give you 10 questions to choose 8 from, or whatever. We'll see how the term goes and go from there. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Going back to the discussion board posts, you were saying that it's between 500 to 700 words.
Yep.
In the syllabus, it says no more than 500. I just wanted to confirm that what you're saying is correct. 500 to 700.
Yeah. So I looked for that, to be quite honest. I'm not the person that counts. So I wouldn't penalize someone if they sent me 480 or 720 words or something like that. What I'm trying to do with the guideline is give you an idea. Like if you write 250 words, it's just not going to have enough content. That's really all I'm saying. I've seen people that are really good writers that are quite succinct do 400 words and get full marks. And I've seen people prattle on for 1,000 words and not because it's just fluff and baloney. So somewhere in the 500 to 700. I had the nagging feeling that it said somewhere in the syllabus that it was 500 words because I used to restrict it to 500, but somewhere around that. And again, I'm not super strict about it. I want you to make a few good points. I want you to use three or more references in APA format, and I want it to be interesting essentially and bring some value, but I'm not super strict on it. But I will get people that will realize on Friday at 11:30 that they haven't handed in their final post, and they'll just rattle off 350 words and there'll be no real value to it, and they just won't do that well. So that's kind of the difference.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So further down in the schedule, there's a very specific schedule. Each week you can see what's due. So we're on week 1 now, obviously. And all that we have to do is get the academic integrity module, presuming IT cooperates with us, in by Friday. There's no real due date on it. It's just the prerequisite to see the quizzes. So if you wait until Thursday of the following week, so Thursday, the 20th or so of January, to hand in your academic integrity module, I might not get a chance to review that before your quiz is due. So just give yourself as much time as possible. Please do try and get it in for Friday. Like I said, we don't have much to do this week, but I would spend some time looking at the content that I've posted under general for citing and referencing and editing, those sorts of things. I've made those available. Just take a few minutes and listen to, there's some really good videos that are done by the academic skills people at Trent, and they really are worth your while to spend some time reviewing those. But then each week on the Saturday, we'll talk about the week coming up. Next week, for instance, we've got chapter 1 to read. We've got a quiz due and discussion 1, post 1 due. But those things will be available to look at. I'm speaking more of the discussion questions. You'll be able to look at those come Saturday at the office hours, and we'll talk about them a little more length. So trust me, it's not hard. It just takes a while sometimes to understand the requirements if you don't read all the instructions carefully. So, but again, it's best 4 out of 5. So even if you blow the first discussion completely, if you read the feedback you get back on track, you can still get a perfect mark. So I think that's about it for the syllabus. I'm going to unshare my screen and pop up here. So I would encourage you just to go through Blackboard and look at the getting started. We've got myself, a little bit of my background, and then your 3 workshop leaders. These are, if you're lucky, they're very good workshop leaders. You may have worked with some of them in the past. I've worked with all of them regularly, and I have no hesitation in saying that they're excellent. They're very responsive. They're very fair. In the past, I've had students take runs at my workshop leaders. I don't appreciate that. Ultimately, if you have a problem with marking, you can come to me and we will sort it out. But the workshop leaders are there to help you out. They're there to help me out. And this is a good group. They really are. And I have no doubt that you're going to enjoy working with all of them. What we do is we rotate through so that everyone gets marked once by me, once by Jordan, once by Cassandra, and once by Alex. And then, maybe the second cycle through on discussions, maybe you're marked twice by me or twice by Jordan, etc. So we try and revolve through so that everyone's exposed to all of our marking styles. But I do set sort of the standard, what I'm looking for, and these folks have worked with me long enough to know exactly what to do. They've seen this course before. So, and then the syllabus we covered a bit, but please take some time and look through that. And then course contents, where we live week to week. So right now you can only see the general tab, but from my view, chapter 1 will be available on January 15th after 12 a.m. So as soon as we get to Saturday morning, you'll be able to see chapter 1 and see the content there and the requirements there. Please do, at least every couple of days, check the announcements. I won't necessarily make the announcements as email. I think they get lost that way. And if I do, please don't respond directly to those email. The way threads are sorted, I can miss your response. I hate missing people's email because I know that's how you contact me. So start a new thread. If you've got something to say, like, I'll warn you when I do email it out. I'll say start a new thread. So do start a new thread, and then you and I can have a conversation, and it's not interspersed in my inbox with every other person in the class. It makes it very difficult to keep a conversational thread sorted properly that way. So, general discussions, there's a general discussion, and I see I've got a few unread posts. I will check that daily or every other day. If you've got an emergency or you want a response urgently, please email me. I won't promise to be up at midnight or 2 in the morning or whatever to respond to you. I will respond as quickly as I can. If you have something less urgent or you're looking for advice from classmates, or if you have advice for classmates, go to that general discussions and interact there. That is not where the discussion posts are going to be. The discussion posts are going to be under the groups. You're going to be assigned to a group and you'll have a group discussion board. So don't post your answer to the group discussion in the general discussion board. That happens a couple times a term. I don't think I have anything else that I really want to cover at this point. Are there any questions? Is there something that I've missed or something that people want to ask about? So I will.
I want to ask about the discussion post.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to show us a template on Saturday of what roughly you want from a discussion post, or?
No, I probably won't show you a template, but we will on Saturday take a look at the questions. And I mean, it's essentially just probably a 2-paragraph, and please do use paragraphs, by the way, a 2-paragraph response to a question. I'll give you some background. I'll give you some questions that will require hopefully some analysis and some thought. And it's like any other writing for this course or probably most courses. You can draft it up and revise it until you get it distilled down to a good post. Now, if you don't already know, Blackboard is brutal with formatting. So if you work in Word and you copy and paste it directly into the discussion post, it's going to do random stuff to it. It really is. It's quite evil. It will change fonts. It will change font sizes. It'll do just all sorts of weird crap to it. So I put directions in, and we'll talk about this on Saturday, how to avoid the trap that Blackboard is in terms of formatting. But no, I'm not going to give you anything that's too specific about it. It's just a matter of answering the question in an essay style format.
Okay. I think I mentioned before, if you're going to provide a rubric for how you're going to.
A rubric I will. So I'll show you how the marks are assigned. Absolutely. The rubric's very detailed. It makes, when you're marking 325 discussions times 2 every couple of weeks, it makes it very easy. It's formulaic, so that you'll understand from reading the rubric exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Will we have access to sample past papers at midterms and final exams and the term paper? So not so much the term paper. I won't provide samples there. I often give some multiple choice questions as a sample, a practice sample before the midterm and final. I won't guarantee I do that, but I usually do that and allow people to practice. I find a surprising number of people don't avail themselves of that resource. So each year I question whether I'm going to do it, because I find less than a third of the class even bothers to do the practice exam questions. So in any case, likely I will. All right. So I've got probably about 3 more minutes before I have to hop off and hop on to the next course. Feel free to email me. Be patient on the academic integrity module till Thursday. We'll deal with that on Thursday if it's still a problem. Feel free to email me at any time, but I do ask, given the volume of people that I have to teach, I cannot answer the same questions that I've already taken the time to discuss at length in office hours, in announcements, in the syllabus. I give an awful lot of information so that I don't have to answer sort of repetitive questions. So don't be offended if I say to you, watch the latest office hours or please check the syllabus. It just means that this is a question that I've specifically anticipated, and I just can't answer 300 students' emails all at once. It'd be a full-time job. So I do want to be there. I do want to help and such, but your part in that is to review the materials that I put in front of you first. Okay, please. So if you don't have further questions for me, and I see there's another one coming up, and I'll deal with that in a second, feel free to jump off and get on with your evening. And hopefully I'll see some or all of you on Saturday. And hopefully you'll have an excellent experience. I love this course. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. When citing anything from the textbook, are you lenient when it comes to page numbers? Being a little off with them? Yes, of course. Yeah, I'm not even too specific about page numbers. Page numbers in APA formatting are generally related specifically to quotations as opposed to just material. So that generally won't be a problem. What will likely be more of a problem is if you do too much quoting. That's covered in the academic skills video. It talks about using quotes too much. It becomes very painful to read stuff that's just filled with quotes. So limit yourself, paraphrase way more, quote way less. That's a comment that I give to a lot of people in discussion posts and in term papers. So the only reason to quote word for word is if it's especially done well, or it's such a cornerstone quote that it needs to be included. So paraphrase more, quote less. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to sign off. I got a hot number. Have a good evening and good luck. Take care.